Hey everyone, I'm Courtney from Phyrra.net, and today I am bringing you my highly requested The Pale Girl's Guide to Contouring. First, I want to remind you that I am not a professional makeup artist, I am a makeup enthusiast. I do not call myself a guru, I do not know everything, and I am well aware of that. I practice and I am learning new things every single day. Second, if you're looking for a video on extreme contouring like the kind you might see on Kim Kardashian or on Instagram, this is not the video for you. You should click off and watch something else because you're going to be deeply disappointed. I prefer a much more natural looking contour. Okay, now that I have that out of the way, I'm going to show you how I like to contour my pale skin. For reference, I am somewhere between N0 and N5 if you're familiar with the MAC or Cover FX scale. N10 is too dark for me. I'm not trying to out-pale princess anyone, I'm just letting you know where I am for reference so that if you are lighter or darker, you can gauge what sort of products you might like based off of that. I'm neutral tone, which means I feel comfortable wearing both cool and warm colors. I feel like I can wear both without a problem. I think sometimes I look better in warm tones, sometimes I look better in cool tones, but most of the time I can wear both. When it comes to contouring, I tend to prefer neutral to cool tones because I feel like that's the most flattering for me. In general, if you have pale skin, I do not recommend that you go out and buy a contour palette, and here's why. One, I generally feel like the only people that really need a full contour palette are makeup artists, and that's because they're going to be working on a variety of skin tones from light to dark, so they will need that variety of tones. Two, if you're pale like me, you're going to probably want to stick to a couple individual shades that are much more flattering on you than you'll find in those palettes. I reviewed a ton of those palettes on my blog. I'll put a link below so you can go check out swatches of all of the popular palettes that I've reviewed, but in general, I don't recommend them. Instead, I recommend trying individual colors. My favorite contour colors are actually from Aroma Lee, and they're multi-purpose. You can use them as eyeshadows or contours or blushes, whatever you like. They're really funky shades, and they're all cool toned. Aroma Lee just released a bunch of warm tone versions of the same shade, so if you prefer warm tones, you can actually get the same color but in a warm tone. Just so we're all on the same page, contouring basically helps you to minimize or recede an area of your face. So it can make your face look more defined, it can hide a double chin. I personally feel like it is best if you are doing contouring with highlighting because then you can have a more multidimensional look. So as a pale girl, I'm going to recommend that you get a duo fiber brush. My favorite brush for contouring is the Real Techniques Duo Fiber Contour Brush. It's available in a set. I haven't seen it individually. The other brush that I used before I found this brush that I also like is this Makeup Geek Chisel Cheek brush. You can see the shapes of the heads are actually very, very different. And what this is great for is really just putting like right here and blending like this or blending along the jaw. But I actually prefer this because it makes it even more softer and diffused and it looks more natural. And I just, in general, if you have pale skin, duo fiber brushes are going to be your best friend because you can use it to apply your contour, to apply your blush, apply everything that you need in a soft way that's flattering for your coloring. If you don't like either of these options, the other brush I would recommend at least checking out is the normal contour brush from Real Techniques. If you look at the shape of the head, it's like basically a small sort of domed brush, whereas this one is more sort of ovally shaped. You can see. Now, people are going to tell you that you need to contour for your face shape, and that's absolutely true. But what if you don't know your face shape? I'm going to show you a trick for how to find your cheekbone so that you don't have to worry about whether or not you know what your face shape is. As far as I'm aware, my face shape is oval. So we're going to start by contouring the cheeks, and to find the hollow of your cheek, you can obviously make a silly fish face like this. But what I also find helpful to do is to take a brush and roll it down your cheek, and you'll be able to feel like where the bottom of your cheekbone is. For me, it's right here. So you can see where that lines up. So when you're contouring, you shouldn't let your contour really go past the end of your brow. You should basically feather and soften it out. So that's my line right there for where my contour should go. The color I'm going to be contouring with today is Aroma Lee Digitalis Purpurea. I probably said that wrong, but it's basically like sort of a blue-gray powder. You're probably thinking that's crazy, why would you use a color like that? And I'm just going to show you why, because I think for me it looks very flattering. So one of the only things I don't like about the Aroma Lee powders are that they're loose powders. So I basically put it on the brush, tap off the excess from the brush so that I don't get too much product, and then remembering right where I felt the hole, or where I felt the bottom of my cheekbone, I go in with my brush and just very, very lightly, like a feather light motion, start applying it. And I'm applying it rather heavy because I'm afraid it's not going to show up on camera. So I'm sure that you can see, I hope anyway, that you can see that it looks like right now I have these straight down my face. So I'm gonna take my foundation brush and just blend to soften that line so that it doesn't look quite so harsh. Okay, so I feel like I can still see the line. I think you can still see it on the camera. When comparing the two sides, I hope you can see that this side has the light contour on the cheek and this side has nothing. Going back with my foundation brush to blend it out. You could obviously use a beauty blender too if you prefer that. Okay, so that is how I like to contour my cheeks. I don't contour my cheeks every day, but when I do contour, that's what I mean. That's pretty much all I will do. Sometimes I'll do my chin. So to do your chin, you basically want to go underneath here and sort of in a triangle shape. And I'm going like right along the bottom edge of my jaw. And then I feather the color down. This is not something that I do every day. It's not something that I personally feel is necessary every day. I know some people do feel that it's something that they need to do all the time, and if you feel that way, then you should absolutely do it. As always, I go back with my brush that has a little bit of foundation on it and just blend the edges. Okay, so the next thing that you can contour if you like is your nose. I feel like my nose is already small enough that I really don't need to contour my nose, but if you're going to contour your nose, you really should take like a small brush. This is the Sigma E25, and it's basically a soft brush that you can also use for like eyeshadow or whatever, and take a very small amount of product. If you're gonna contour it, go right along here. And you can come down here if you like at the tip, but honestly I feel like my nose is small enough that I don't need to contour it. But that is where you would contour if you wanted to contour your nose. The other place that people like to hit if they're contouring the face is they like to hit around the edges of the forehead. So a little bit around here, a little bit around here. I personally never do that. I don't feel the need for it. That's why I don't do it. Now that I've shown you where I like to contour on my cheeks and where you can contour around the rest of your face, I'm going to show you where I like to highlight and then how to put blush on so that it all kind of melts together. So I like to use one of two brushes for highlighting. More recently, I've been using the Urban Decay Diffusing Highlighter brush. Previously, I was using the Real Techniques setting brush. I'm going to go ahead and highlight with Notoriously Morbid Osteomancy. So I basically highlight along the tops of my cheekbones here, and then I do a little bit here and here above the brow. When I can wear eyeshadow, I will highlight at the outer half under my eyebrow and at the inner corner because I feel like it helps to open up my eyes. Sometimes I will highlight a little bit under the Cupid's bow. Not too much, just like a tiny little bit. Like right here. if I want to, just a little bit right there. I don't really highlight the end of my nose. I don't want to look like a Coke snorting unicorn, so that's not for me, but if that's for you, that's fantastic. It's just not a look I like. Anyway, I think you can see, at least I can see here, where I have the highlight here and the contour here. So I've got like a little gap where I could apply some blush. This is typically when I will take one of two brushes. I'll use either the Real Techniques cheek brush or the Real Techniques contour brush that is not a duo fiber brush to apply some blush. Okay, for my blush, I'm going to use Urban Decay X-Rated. And so basically in between the gap of the highlighter and the contour color, I'm just gonna put a little bit of blush and I'm going back towards my ear. Then, like I mentioned before, when I was applying the contour, I'm trying to use sort of light feathery touches. And then I usually go back with a little bit more highlighter because I like my glow to be seen from space. And then I'll take my Real Techniques fan brush and kind of try to meld the highlighter and the blush and the contour all together. Just kind of blending it. That is my finished look with the contouring and the blush and the highlight. Now I'm gonna go on to talk about some products. Like I mentioned before, my favorite contouring products are the Aroma Lee multi-purpose contour powders. I wish these were pressed. I may try to press them someday, I don't know. But since they're not pressed, they're loose, they can be a little tricky to work with, so you really need a duo fiber brush and you need a light hand. This is Digitalis Purpurea, which is the one I put on. There it is in the back of my hand. As you can see, it's kind of a blue-gray color when it's applied heavily. This is Amphisbaena, and it's kind of like a grayed mauve. This is another color that I really like on me. I think it's great if you want to try the draping technique, where you use like a darker blush with a lighter blush. That's the color right there. There's also Aconitum Napellum. This one's kind of a purple shade. See, kind of like a purple gray color, kind of like a bruise. There's Heloderma Suspectum. This one's kind of like a taupey shade. This one's Senecio Horrida. It's like a green gray. Some other colors that I like would be Silk Naturals Shady Lady number 1. It's that color right there. I've also used Urban Decay's Video as sort of a contour type shade, or like a contour blush combo, and it's this color right here. If you don't like powder products, which I prefer powder products, one of the best creams in my opinion for pale skin would be OCC's John Doe. It blends down really nicely. I just get like a huge swatch of it right there. Believe it or not, one of the other great contour products that's a cream product is M Cosmetics Chiaroscuro stick. This is the one for fair skin. Indies are where it's at. I have a couple more indies to show you. These are Life's Entropy, and they have these like proton contouring sticks. This is Alpha, it's a shade right there, which is very similar to John Doe. And this is Proton. That's Proton. I've also been known to wear NARS Olympia, which is the shade right here, and I'm running out of hand space. I'm gonna show you on my other hand, which is actually a pretty warm shade. Finally, if you are convinced that you need a palette, I highly recommend the Kevin Aucoin The Art of Sculpting. I think I saw this on sale somewhere for like 50% off, and I don't remember if it was at Sephora or at beauty.com, but I saw it somewhere online. But this is what the book looks like. I've got it swatched on my blog, and I'm gonna swatch the sculpting shade, which is also the blonde brow powder, on the back of my hand for you. But that works pretty well. It also has a really pretty highlighter with the Celestial powder. So anyway, that's my Pale Girl's Guide to Contouring, and I threw in a little bit of highlighting and blush for you too. I'm dying to know what you think of this video, so please let me know in the comments below. If you like it, please share it. I really appreciate it. It means the world to me when you share my videos. And don't forget to give it a thumbs up too. If you haven't already, be sure you subscribe. I make new videos weekly. Thanks so much for watching.